Very cool. Well, good morning.
Hello, everybody.
Hey, good morning. It's Jerry from All Purpose Mom, and we're out here at East Mesa Urban Homestead, and we're here with William, and we just got to meet his little chicken that hopped up here on his arm. So we're about to take a tour for our first episode of the Show and Tell Garden Show.
It's a Sicilian buttercup, or some people call it an Italian buttercup.
Very cool.
Oh, so
she lays a small white egg.
Yeah. One time he got
she's
picked
really
in the
sweet.
eye.
She's the only one that does this.
This one picked him in the eye once.
Yeah.
Are you serious?
When it was littler, I had it up here and I turned, and she was like right here, and she pecked me right in the corner of my eye. Luckily, it wasn't in the
actual
iris.
eyeball.
Yeah. But,
Goodness gracious.
yeah. So I got to kind of be careful with her ever since then. But yeah, see, she'll peck at you. She'll see something and think it's food and peck at you.
Are you gonna hold her, May? Yeah.
Show her how to hold her.
So you go like this.
Hold on. Let me see. Okay. So when you go to hold a chicken, you want to hold it by the wings like this. Okay.
She didn't try to fly away.
And you got to kind of watch the claws, because when they're ready to go away, sometimes they'll kick their feet.
Yeah,
but luckily, these are older chickens, and their claws are kind of worn down from scratching in the rocks and the dirt, so they don't.
What do you think, May?
The little babies over there, they have really long claws now because they're babies. So when you get them on your arm or they're trying to get away from you, they'll scratch it. So you gotta be real careful with those. But these are a little over a year old, and they're all layers. And
I'm out here in his little chicken area that is just perfect. So I'm going to start a little tour. We're going to run around. I want you to see his awesome little chicken house he's built for his girls here. We're going to run over and check out the garden. And then we're going to sit down for a little tell time. So we're going to start with the show, and then we're going to round up with the tell. So here we go. Loving this little coop that we've got going on. I need to back up over here in the sun a little bit so you can see it a little bit better. But it's so cute, and William built this. He's a pretty handy guy, and his girls seem to love it. They've got a lot of space in here, and it's totally vented, so they've got a lot of room, and it's a nice, sweet little area over here. They've got a sweet run, and William and I were just talking, and this area that he's standing in right now, he's actually going to put some raised beds in, so he's going to close off the run for the chickens a little bit, and then put another little garden over here that's going to be more of his winter garden. And I'm going to take you around back here so you can see, got a little fan going in to keep the girls. And this is the cutest story. So this is where he collects his eggs, and he was telling me that all the girls lay in just this one space here. So it was fun that we got to see some eggs left over from his girls. And he's got nice little watering area. He's telling me that as it gets warmer, he's got a kind of a deep tub that he puts inside of the chicken house so that the girls have a place to stand, and it helps keep them cooled off. But I love this area. I think he did a really smart job of picking a space where this tree is going to keep them cool all throughout the summer. And then the reason why that's going to be a great place for a winter bed is because this tree loses all of its leaves, and that's the place that gets the most sun. So it's going to be a great place for him to get growing in the winter. The next thing I want to show you before we leave the chicken run area is that we're going to check out a couple of different compost projects he's got going on, because right now William's doing better with compost than I am. So let's see what he's got going on. So William, you were telling me that you got a tumbler like mine that does compost, and you've had that for about a year, but it's pretty much got the same compost in it that you started with, right? Now tell me about this.
So we get these from the city of Mesa. You pay them $5 and they'll drop off one of these. So I have 2 of these. So it cost me $10, and they don't charge you anything after that. It's just a $5 delivery fee. And all they are is they're just a big old garbage can that probably had some damage to it. And they cut off the bottom, and they put some holes in here.
So it comes with the holes
just like this.
Is the bottom open to the ground?
Yes,
or?
it is. It's open to the ground because they just cut it off at the bottom. And it's just a regular garbage can that, like I said, it probably had some kind of damage to it. Maybe the wheels broke off or something.
Right.
And they just cut them in half, and again, they put the holes in there, and they deliver it. So it's open to the ground,
And you don't have to do anything when you get it. Just start building your piles in it.
That's pretty much it. I put some water in it when it needs it. And this is actually my second batch of compost for this year. I had one going last year. It only took about 6 months to get it going and to get it completed. And this is the second round right here.
And you can see his pitchfork there that he turns with too. Do you use this for a screen, or is this for your compost screen?
I use this actually for a lot of different things. When I built my bed, my raised bed over there, you know, have the desert landscaping back here, so it's all rock for the most part. So I took all the rock and I got all the organic material out of that rock, and then I put the rock over into the rock area that we were going to keep as rock. Right. So I use it for that, and then I also use it sometimes when I go through the chicken coop and I get out the straw and all the manure from the bed in there, so I can get just all the manure itself, or I can just take all the straw out and just throw it in the composter or use it as mulch. Right. So it's a multi-function, and I built this as well. It's like a 1/2-inch screen on here. I was going to get some stuff that's smaller because it does let some of the bigger stuff come through, but you know what? I had the material, and it really didn't cost me anything extra. Right. So I got all my pallets that I use in all my projects. I pay $1 for it. Right. And most of them I got for free, and I think I've probably spent maybe $15.
So that's part of a pallet there.
This is part of a pallet.
Oh, that's awesome! I love that.
So, and then my pitchfork is what I use for turning my stuff here. But yeah, this is just made out of pallet. Yeah. So this is where the skids come in for a forklift, and this is left over from the coop. Very good. I loved all that. So. And then you've got one more over here that we want to take a look at. This is going to sound a little noisy because it's over by the air conditioners, but this pile is so cool that you've got to see it. Again, this looks like you built all this out of pallets too. Yeah, so this is actually 4 pallets that I just put the 3 sides together, and I cut one right in half. This is actually half of the pallet, and I filled in all these the gaps in there from the pallets with the extra wood. And here we go. I mean, this thing, you can see, it's almost 130 degrees. And when I put this in, I'd say maybe a month ago, maybe a little bit, maybe 6 weeks ago, the lawn guy came. He put everything in here from the lawn, from the clippings and everything. And it was probably about this high, totally full. And this is what we got going on right now. And I pulled some of the bigger stuff out of it. But this stuff doesn't really break down. But I pulled most of that out, and it's grass. It's got some of the stuff in there from my chicken coop, some of the pine shavings and the manure in there. And you said that chickens come in too and help you. That's what I was just going to say is, so chickens love compost because there's all kinds of bugs and stuff inside of there that they eat. And if you throw food scraps in here, they'll try to dig for those and they turn it for you. So basically, you don't have to turn it as much, you just got to make sure that it stays moist. And those chickens will come in here and they'll pick from here and eat all the bug larvae and all that kind of stuff, so it's really beneficial. And the other thing that they do is they add poop to it. Right. They poop in here, so it's just automatic, just kind of a natural process. And you can see right here where they have, they've scratched at it and they root around in it, right. And they were probably looking for some food scraps that I might have put in there, but this one I'm trying to keep pretty much just the natural materials, not a whole lot of food scraps, and just kind of an experiment to see what I can get out of it. Very good. Just walking over here to, what? Are we in my backyard? Nope, we're still at William's house. But this is the composter that he has like mine, and it's pretty full, and I think that for the most part it looks beautiful. It's a little damp. I think it's nice. It's got some eggshells in there that aren't totally broken down, but this is the bin that William says has been working for almost a year now, and he's getting so much more success out of the big trash containers over there. So if you've got one of these and you've got space to get one of those bins, you might do your own little challenge to see what comes out there. So now we're gonna move over to where William's garden's at, and when you're watching his channel, it looks like it's this vast area, and it's still quite big, but his backyard is a lot bigger than I thought, and his garden is ever growing and
and ever changing. And there's something that I really love about it, and that's that William and his family are only growing things that they will eat. And I think that's so important to not fall into a mindset of having to grow a bunch of stuff that you don't even like, you're not ever going to eat, and it's way more than you ever could eat. So I think that's an awesome lesson that we're going to get to learn from William today. But right now, let's go see what he's got growing on over here. So real quick, back here you can see along the back wall. Usually in his videos you're really only kind of getting that viewpoint, but he's got a huge planter that used to have a lot of different things in it. And going forward, they're looking to expand the bed a little bit here in front of these roses, but otherwise the core of their gardening is going to be right here in this area and over here to the left where I showed you beside the chickens. So, and look over here, we love this little home for the little cutter bees to come out and hang out. So be our guest. Now talk to me, William, what you got going over here?
Okay, so I started the garden last year around September. And I did plant actually a lot of these tomato plants and the pepper plants back then. And I did some low tunnels over the top of them to keep the frost away from them and all that. And was really wondering if they were ever going to grow. But as soon as it started warming up, man, they sure did take off. The pepper plants are still a little behind, I think, but they're starting to catch up. So everything that I have in here, for the most part, with the exception of 4 tomato plants and my strawberries, are all from seed. Okay, everything in here is grown from seed except for those 4. I bought 4 tomato plants at this lady's house that had a sign out, and she grows with Maricopa Gardening Association. And what they do is they get together, I think once or twice a year, and they all plant a whole bunch of seeds in containers, and they grow them out, and then they split them up, and then they have like a garage sale for plants, and they sell them. And I happened to be driving by, and I saw the sign, and I pulled a U-turn, went in there because it said plants, and lo and behold, she had a driveway full of these, you know, different types of plants. And so anyway, I bought those, and I put them in, and they're doing really well. But really what's important about my garden is that we're growing what we want. Okay, initially it really started as like a salsa garden. I had onion in here, I had garlic in here, I have the tomatoes, and I have peppers in here. Although at the time when I started it, I really wasn't aware, because this is really my first garden I've ever had, of the growing seasons and how things, you know, are different during the season time. And I didn't anticipate that they wouldn't all be ready at the same time. But that's what I really have growing in here, and the things that we want to eat. We don't eat a whole bunch of squash, we don't eat a whole lot of cucumbers, those type of things. So when me and my wife talked about doing the garden, she said, let's just do the stuff that we're gonna eat, so we don't have to give it away like we've done before. We had a garden like 25 years ago. We gave away more than half of it because we just didn't eat it. We just planted everything. Right. And you know, it just really didn't work out very well. So when we talked about it, said, all right, we love salsa, we love Mexican food, let's do it kind of like a salsa garden. So that's how this kind of started. But I did put in some red Russian kale. I've never eaten that before, but this has really turned out really good. It does have some aphids on it right now, but I'm not sure how long I'm going to keep this in here.
Yeah, we found some aphids. I think there was one over here that had quite a bit of aphids going on. That's what that is there. So yeah, and we talked, you know, he could obviously wash this off, he could blow this off, but and you know what, I don't know if you've noticed in my video, but I cut it all the way down to the ground and it just started growing again. So you may do that and it'll come back up and be in the fall. Did you guys eat very much of it?
We have been picking off of this for 2 months now.
Very good.
And I also have leaf lettuce right here, same thing.
Has it gotten bitter yet, or
no.
have you tasted it?
We just picked some the other night, and this one right here, actually, it started to bolt. So okay. I cut off the top and then I cut the whole plant off. This one, I'm probably going to cut all the rest of this off, and that'll probably be it for the summer. Right. But it is so good. I've made so many salads with the red Russian kale and the leaf lettuce here.
And I was telling him back there, I don't know if you can see, but he's got a lot of tomatillos that have fallen off, and I love, and I'm a little jelly over all this tomatilla success. I mean, my tomatilla looks like a little wimp compared to this awesome garden. And friends, if you don't know, your tomatillas are really ready when they drop on their own. So he's got some picking to do. But I just want to get over here real quick and just show you all of his lovely tomatoes.
Yellow Pear tomatoes. That's one of the plants that I actually bought. And then I have
that you bought from the lady.
2 more tomatillas.
Yeah, there's here. See, his tomatillas look so much better than mine. Can you see that over there? And there's one down there just about ready to drop off of the plant there.
I mean, I need to stake this up because it's starting to fall over here.
Right.
But I've probably picked 15 or 20 of these tomatoes already, just within the last 3 or 4 weeks.
How's the taste? Just phenomenal?
Amazing. They are amazing. And I mean, they're just growing like unbelievable. I mean, I'm only 5'9", and you know,
they're chest high, yeah. So was this up here when you were having the bird problem, or did you put this up since?
Well, I actually had this whole thing actually covered in the bird netting.
Right.
Just recently I've opened it up to allow for me to come in and out a lot easier, and that's when I started having that problem with my tomatoes getting the holes poked in them.
Right.
But behind you I put out some water. I mean, I have probably 10 tomatoes right now.
Right, that are ready to pick.
To be picked.
Yeah, you can see that over there. They're all peeking out. But it's kind of, the jungle effect is kind of keeping them a little bit protected too. So that's really cool.
And I got some new stuff coming out right here. There's a new tomato right here.
Yeah.
So, but you can't see from there is back here I have some pepper plants. So I have some pepper plants here as well, and actually some tomatoes that somehow got mixed in over here. I need to get rid of those because I have more than enough tomatoes. But these are jalapenos and some habanero, and I believe some poinsettia tomatoes. And as you can see, Jerry pointed out, I have a whole bunch of these purple tomatillas, and they're starting to turn.
And he's got a couple more tomatoes over here, and we were standing over here looking at this when I first got here, and lo and behold, he pulled another one of those fat hornworms off, and he said, I knew I had one. I knew I had one. And when we were standing here talking, he found it. Is that another tomato you got back there?
Yeah, this is a Brandywine. This is a Blackseed tomato.
Yeah.
This is a Brandywine. That's a Brandywine.
Yeah, these are got big tomatoes
Blackseed,
on there too.
And they got some tomatoes on them.
Yeah.
And then I have a jalapeno up there, and I think the other one's a Brandywine right there.
Yeah, this one right here.
And then I have my strawberries here.
Oh yeah.
They've put out quite a bit
Those are
of strawberries. They've actually had a pretty good growth spurt last couple weeks or whatever. Not too many strawberries right now. There's some growing here, but these are fairly small compared to the ones that I had earlier in the year, where they were pretty big sized strawberries.
Right. Did you guys get to eat some of them?
We did eat some of them. First year, people say you're supposed to, if you want them to root better and whatever, take all the flowers off and don't let them fruit. But I'm kind of greedy.
Yeah.
So I let them go to flower and turn into fruit. But next year, I think they're going to come back even stronger, and these tomatoes right here are going to kind of shade them a little bit from the hot Arizona sun.
Yeah.
So it's going to help out quite a bit, and that's one of the reasons why. Because over here I had garlic,
right,
and onion over here, had 4 rows of it, and a lot of people said I picked it too early, and in a way I kind of did, but I had plans for covering these strawberries because I really wanted them to grow.
Right.
So that's why I took them out, and I put these tomato plants here because they're going to grow obviously way taller, and they're going to be able to shade out these strawberries.
Yeah, and they'll probably stay and hang out through to the next season. That's a good idea.
I think so. And if they don't, if they start falling back, I'll probably mulch over them, and I think that they'll still come back next year.
Well, speaking of that heat, let's head over to the patio and have some tell time. And as we do that, I just want you to notice this cool bird netting, well, sunshade really, that William made. You can check out a video on his channel where he actually bent this PVC pipe, but that's what he uses to crank it up and bring it back down. So this is going to come in real handy for him as it gets warmer and warmer, and give his plants a little respite during the hottest parts of the day. One more thing that I want to point out before we leave is all the lovely things that he's got going on his patio. He's got some awesome citronella. This is rosemary, but if you've never seen it, this is citronella. And I was asking him, does this all keep the mosquitoes away? And he said, it really doesn't, but coming along and rubbing your hands in the citronella and then rubbing that on your skin has actually helped him keep a lot of mosquitoes off of him. So he's got a little strawberry experiment that he's got going on here. Like me, he's got a little patio tomato plant here, and I told him that I think that one will probably end up having a really nice experience over the winter. But I did just want to see, and when I got here, mind you, William's like, we really haven't done anything with the backyard at all. And much to the contrary, I think they've done a lot of really awesome things here. And on the way home, or as soon as possible, I'm gonna pick me up one of these citronella plants because we're fighting mosquitoes left and right at my house. At this point, I think William looks a lot better than me. He clearly doesn't glow as much as I do, so he's got something going on there for sure. But we had a great time here visiting with William. In fact, I haven't even seen my kids since I got here. They're running around and having a great time with his children. We're gonna chat here a little bit because we talked a little bit about what you're gonna do in terms of expanding your grow space. And then talk to us a little bit about because this whole back bed that runs across the back part of your yard is all rock now, and when you went to put that bed in, walk us through what you did to get that bed ready.
Okay, so when I decided that I was going to do the garden, what I did was I took all that gravel that is up there and I ran it through that sifter that you saw earlier to get all the organic matter out, because there was a large bird of paradise plant there that, if you've ever seen one of those here in the desert, they put off a lot of flowers and a lot of debris. So I wanted to kind of keep that in the ground, into the native soil. So I took it all the way down to the native soil and got as much of that rock out of there as I could get, and I took that plant out and I got that big root ball out of there, and then I built my bed. I built it out of pallets that I got really cheap or for free. And then what I did was I went down to the city of Tempe, and they have a big compost center down there, and I believe it's in beginning of September, maybe August, they actually give away free compost from where they have really good they have 30-foot high compost piles down there, and they have a bulldozer that they put it in the back of a truck, or they'll put it in whatever you want. So I went down there and I got 4 of those, and I brought it back and I put it in there. I left it, let my chickens work it, they pooped in it, they kind of got it ready, and then when it come to plant time, I went in there and I planted.
Very cool. Well, so go ahead.
That's what I'm going to plan on doing, is extending out that garden probably another 10 to 15 feet, probably about 3, maybe 4 foot wide, and have a bigger garden up there on the raised part in a raised garden bed.
Right, I love that. I love that. That was one thing that was hard to tell. I always wondered if you purposely did that bed to keep it away from your chickens, but as soon as you walk out into your backyard, you see that was kind of going on.
Right. And just recently, this year, we put up the fence,
right,
to make an actual run. Otherwise, they were free ranging for almost a full year. If you've ever had a chicken, or you decide you're going to get chickens, you have to be aware that a chicken will eat just about any plant, or they'll get into a container that they can fit into and dust bathe in it. So if you're planning on getting chickens, you have to be aware that you can't really free range them in every place that you'll want to let them go.
Right.
Otherwise they will destroy plants, they will dust bathe in your pots, and that's what they were doing. And they were coming up here on the patio, and they were pooping on the patio, and they were pooping on everything, because chickens' bathroom is everywhere.
Right.
So that's why we decided to put that run up to keep them confined. And I do let them come out and get in the grass and eat the grass, and from time to time. But otherwise, I had that shade cloth around it, or not the shade cloth, but the bird netting all the way around the garden at one time, so that they weren't able to get in there and destroy my crop.
Makes sense. So do you have are you in an HOA here?
I am in an HOA.
Do they care about the chickens?
From what I've read, you can have only so many chickens, and it has to be at least 50 foot from a house. I didn't know that, but we had talked about getting chickens at one time.
Right.
And I told my wife, I said, "No, we got an HOA," and you know, when we moved into the house, we didn't get the booklet.
Right. Very few people get the booklet.
We didn't get the booklet, so we weren't really sure. And I told her, "No, I don't want to hassle with it." Well, my next door neighbor moved. They sold. A new family moved in, and they had chickens. They had 2 of them.
Right.
Well, we didn't know that for the longest time.
Right.
And then we found out, and I was like, "Well, they got them. We'll get them."
Right.
Well, come to find out, right over here behind my house, about 3 houses over, there's a lady over there that has 7 chickens.
Oh, wow.
One morning, we're out in here eating, and my kids go, "There's a chicken walking across the back fence."
Hers must be open ranging over
So
there.
apparently she didn't secure them at night or whatever, and they got out, and we found them walking down the street. A neighbor found them walking down the street. They knew we had chickens, so they come over and asked if it was ours. And my wife posted it on
Next door?
across the street. It was walking down the street.
No, there's an app called Nextdoor
Oh, no,
that
no, no.
people all post and tell what's going on. in the
No,
neighborhood.
it's like a neighborhood
Something like that.
type thing, yeah.
Yeah.
And anyway, we found out whose it was. And come to find out, she had 7 chickens.
Right on.
So that's how we ended up with the chickens. You know,
So everybody's kind of doing the chickens on the down low then.
I think there's probably more people that have chickens than people know. I didn't know they had them. I didn't know they had them until we got them.
Yeah.
And then you hear. when
You
a
start
chicken-
to listen.
You're more in tune. And I can hear her chickens when sometimes they go in to lay an egg.
Right.
Come out, they're making all this noise, and hey, I laid this egg. And
Right.
they do that. And
So getting your own kind of keyed your ear
Yes.
into listening for
Yes,
them, and so
and-
now you know.
Yep. And so that's how we ended up getting them. And that's kind of how this started.
Was the chickens?
Was the chickens. I never had chickens. My wife has had chickens before, you know, growing up. But I had no clue, you know, from Jump Start other than they're little chicks and they grow into chickens and they lay eggs, right? So I got online and I started looking and I ran across a channel and they had an urban homestead and she did like an hour video on how to raise chickens from a chick up until you let them out in the yard or whatever.
Right on.
And they're kind of like a prepper homestead type thing, and that's how I ended up getting kind of into the gardening and doing my urban homesteading type of thing here. I don't know how far it's going to go, but that's what kind of got me started in this was the chickens. And
Very cool.
you know, when I got the chickens, and you know, we started thinking about, you know, the foods that we eat, and you know, what comes out of the grocery store, and the GMO, and the things that are just, you know, the pesticides that are put into our food and even into our meats.
Right.
You know, if I had my choice, I would have a cow back here and some pigs,
Right.
if I could.
Right.
You know, grow my own food.
Yeah.
Totally,
Yeah.
You know, but we're not at that point right now. But I'm doing a little bit what I can here, you know,
Yeah.
with my garden.
Yeah, that's
And
awesome.
Getting fresh eggs.
Yeah, I think that's all we all can do, you know. I mean, my backyard's smaller. I don't have a space for chickens, but little by little you do what you can do with what you can do, whether you're renting or you're in an apartment or you're in a duplex, a smaller space. You can also take the lesson from William and his garden that you might see YouTubers out there like me or even more popular gardeners than both these two right here that have got huge, enormous gardens, but grow only what you can eat and what you are going to be able to comfortably preserve, because otherwise you're not running a line of sustainability anymore. You're just kind of going with the flow of growing stuff that you're not going to eat that ends up wasteful. So just take that awesome lesson here from William. We want to thank William here so much for letting us come out. It's been an awesome time exploring what he does and picking up some good lessons, and I'm really, really inspired to go ahead and try and get one of those bins at my house because I want to have some compost success like I saw over in one of his bags. So maybe in the winter and the fall when he gets his second bed up and going and he's got all this garlic planted that he promised me, we'll have to come back out and see what he's got growing on then. But until next time, thanks so much for tuning in with us and have the best day ever.
Keep growing.